Hello and welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new. My name's Addie, and today we are back with another speed build. Today we are sort of leaning into the Halloween spirit. We're building a haunted house, like an actual haunted house in The Sims. Um, for those of you who don't know, there are haunted houses in The Sims, um, and you can um, they come with paranormal stuff. I am having a little hard time with words today. I got my flu shot yesterday, so I'm like at probably 20% of what compared to what I normally am. But we're just hanging out. So I am working on the outside, and this haunted house is kind of a lot. It has two stories. You could make a functional third story in the roof if you wanted. I didn't want to because I was like, what else do I have to put in here? Um, but yeah, it's really big. And I think it's really cool. It's like a rundown, the story is kind of like somebody bought this house and started renovating it, and then it's a haunted house, so they probably got a little bit spooked by the haunted part of it, and they decided to abandon the renovation project. So that's kind of the storyline here. It's definitely not something that I usually build. I'm not a huge fan of haunted houses. I find them really overstimulating. Um, but I thought that this one was kind of, I don't know, I felt like it was fun to build. Um, and so that's kind of the backstory. It is two stories. There's oh God, I'm really tired. I'm sorry. Um, there's three bedrooms, two bathrooms. One bathroom's upstairs, one bathroom's downstairs, and then there's a kitchen, dining, living, and sort of like skill building um sunroom type thing. So you'll notice that some of the areas have just like drywall, and then some of them have um the studs, and I felt like that was kind of a good mixture. I was gonna leave the drywall from the base game, but I decided not to because to me it looks unfinished, not intentional. So, especially if it's like just one wall in a room. So, I decided to not do that. And then I used arches into all of the rooms because in my head they like have finished the walls, they finished framing the doors. They're going to be putting the doors in, but they just didn't ever get there. Um, like they're going to be putting the doors in probably after they finish all the drywall and insulation and stuff. And they just never got there because they abandoned the project. Um, so yeah, I thought it was kind of fun, and then I used the broken windows from what's it called? The Death Pack. Um, in a lot of the rooms, you'll see where the sunroom is because it's just got like a bunch of broken windows in there. And then I'm going through and sort of changing the windows to some of them be broken, some of them not be broken, because I can't imagine that all of the windows would be broken in the same spot, you know? So I did go ahead and put those on. The third story of the tower has windows. And then I was gonna do a formal graveyard, and then I decided not to. There is just like a random coffin in the attic. So don't know who lives there, but good for them. And then we've got the haunted swing set. So sometimes it'll just like swing on its own. I felt like that was very fitting for the um, kind of build that we were doing. And I put a bunch of tears in the wall, and the version on the gallery does not have good, those will stay there. If you download it from the gallery, those stay there on the gallery. So that's not very fun, but I didn't want to change it, so I didn't. Um, and then I'm going through replacing a bunch of radiators. I'll get rid of some of them based on which rooms have fireplaces. Um, so like the kitchen doesn't have one. The the living room won't have one, and then the dining room won't have one. Um, and then I really wasn't sure what to put in the bathroom for the tile because like they're mid renovation. So I was like, would they only have the subfloor? Would they only have the concrete? Would they have tile in? So I just decided to go with this stone. Um, and then I went with these cabinets from Horse Ranch. And I didn't want I I don't love that the refrigerator and stove from the Restoration Workshop kit are smaller. I wish they fit a whole tile, especially the stove because the stove is um like it's the only one like that. So it's kind of annoying that it's the only one like that because it doesn't like what was the purpose in that, you know what I mean? Um so I do find that kind of annoying. Um but what can you do? So we are just going through and sort of vaguely furnishing the all of the rooms at this point. Um, I think Horse Ranch really came in handy for this because the furniture in that pack is sort of this like rundown sort of style, and I think that it needs that. One other annoying thing about this build um is that there's no toilets inside. Again, remember that they stopped mid-renovation, so they were going to put in toilets and they just hadn't gotten there yet. So they don't have toilets. We've got an outhouse. I wish we had like a porta potty outhouse, but we don't. So there's just like a creepy outhouse in the middle of the what do you want to call it? In the middle of the woods back there. Um but I mean, you gotta go, you gotta go. Another thing that I did in here was I put the holes in the floor. So I really like having holes in the floor. They sort of make it feel like this. They stopped mid renovation, but that was probably like 20 years ago at this point. And that just feels kind of appropriate, like they started renovating this in like 2006, right? 2005, 2006. They stopped probably 6 months into the project. Um, and so they now it's just a bunch of um like squatters and stuff that live here. Um, so it's just like I don't know. So like this house has been not lived in for couple years. Um, and there's just like massive gaps in the floor, and whoever lives here is like they've made the best of the situation. Like nobody has been taking care of this property. They're not taking care of the property. So, like what do they have to lose? They've got all of this furniture in here. Um, like the kitchen works. It's probably not the most effective kitchen, but it works. Um, and so, I don't know. I just feel like these Sims are probably, um, they're probably like freelancer type, um, people who have been living, like, I know that homeless is like not a thing in The Sims. Like, yeah, there are Sims who don't live anywhere, but the game only uses them for like spawning purposes, right? Like, there's no real thing about, like, there's no consequence if your Sim doesn't have a house, other than it's just harder to meet your Sim's needs, you know? Um, but you have to live somewhere. You can't just like be homeless in The Sims. But in my head, these Sims were homeless and they now live here because nobody else lives here. And it's renovated enough that in the summer, it's not like like it, when you have like extreme weather, it's probably not the greatest place to live, but it's also probably not like the worst place to live. Um, so now I am building a grave place. Um, so the story here is that the coffin that is next to these graves is going to be buried there. Who's buried there? Why are these here? I don't really know. I don't really care. It's just kind of weird. Like why are there all of these like fresh grave sites, you know? And you can kind of see like which ones are the newest based on where how much grass has grown over it. Um, so yeah, kind of a fun little surprise in the back if you don't watch the speed build and you download it off the gallery. Um, and then we're getting a lot of landscaping. So I'm actually going to cut out this part because, or I did cut out this part because it's kind of monotonous. So now I've finished landscaping, so you'll kind of see bits of that around. There's a pond. I don't think you can fish in the pond. And then there's a wishing well from the Romantic Garden Stuff pack. And there's also this weird bit in the upstairs attic above the second story bathroom. Don't know what's going on up there. There's like a cabinet, there's a drip bag, there's other stuff. But it is what it is. Um, and then this house also is off the grid. So that means that I cannot, that you, like, if you live here, you will not have a lot of, um, you will not have access to the power grid. So you have to generate your own power and water, which is fun. It's fun. And I, that means that you need to have the little stuff so that you can do that. Um, there are like rain things and stuff. So I put those around. I'm finishing up some landscaping here. I decided to leave this in because it's not as monotonous as me putting the same two plants everywhere all over the place. It's like ivy and a couple bushes and a tree and some flowers, and that's more tolerable than me putting down the same bush 15 times. Um, and then I have um, a lot of different kinds of landscaping in here. There's a little bit from Realm of Magic. Obviously, we're in that world. Um, and then there's some from Cottage Living that I'm placing now. I really wanted to have this willow tree. I thought she was so pretty. And then I didn't want a lot of flowers because there's not a lot of flowers in this world, in like the environment. So I didn't want to put too many flowers, but I did want some. So there are a couple of flowers from Cottage Living on here. There's a chess table outside because that's helpful for gameplay. And now I am starting on actually finishing the landscaping here. So, there's the outhouse, there's a lot of terrain paint around like the more used areas. There is a swing set. There are no children in this lot. So I'm not really sure who uses the swing. Maybe the adults use the swing. But there is a swing, and I wish you could adjust the like, what do you call it? The like intensity of the eraser brush a little bit better, but you can't. So I don't know, did the best that I could. And then there's a little bit of like at one point there were pavers, and there's not pavers really anymore, but you can kind of see that there were pavers. Was sort of the vibe that I was going for. And then I did want to hide the stuff, like the water catchers, a little bit. They're still technically visible, but it's fine. And then I wanted chimneys because I feel like this place needs chimneys. So I did get those, and just getting a couple of other finishing touches, some lights and finishing the pond and that sort of thing. So we are coming towards the end of the video. So if you liked it, if you would like and subscribe, that would really mean a lot. And I will see all of you next time. Bye now.